This is Charlie Parsons for Boxing Social in association with Empire Fight Store. Very grateful and blessed today. I'm here, Wall Street, New York, I believe. That's what my Instagram tells me. Ariel Helwani at the MMA Hour Studios. I've just been speaking to Sky Nicholson. I've called it the Helwani Towers.
Wow.
That's what it's being named as for me now.
This is it. Wow,
Yeah.
the Helwani Towers. Well, it's great to meet the famous Charlie Parsons. I hear all about you from Eddie Hearn. Saw the great chat that you guys had. Saw him delivering coffee to you,
Yes.
I believe it was, or was it tea?
It was coffee.
It was coffee. So it seems like you have him wrapped around your finger. Well done. Fair play, as they say. Great to have you here. This is my home away from home. People think this is actually my home, but as you can see, not my home. So lovely to have you here.
An incredible setup, might I just say. I mean, just for you, you must be so proud of this because this is awesome.
Yes, I am very proud of it. It's part of the reason why I came back to this place. I was at ESPN, and I was working for this company from 2012 to 2018. But this studio, we only built it in 2017. So I only got a year here, and then I went to ESPN, and then, it all went down the way it went down. And then I thought, man, I really missed this studio. I only got to use it for a year. I missed this desk. I missed this setup. I missed that screen. I missed this. And so I wanted to come back. And it feels like my home away from home. I feel so comfortable in here. I feel like myself in here. And so I love it. And I'm very, very proud of it.
I think it is genuinely awesome. Look, let's move forward. Francis Ngannou, I want to start off with you. A very popular topic at the minute with Eddie, well, in boxing in general, but especially Eddie after what he said on today's episode of the MMA Hour. I want to pick up on a little bit what was said about exploring the free agency as such, because I did my sit down with him, and at the time it didn't seem like he was interested. Now that's changed. I haven't managed to listen to everything he said. But do we think this is realistic now, seeing Francis Ngannou cross to boxing?
Oh, yes, 100%. Francis always wanted to be a boxer first. That was his original dream. Like when he left Cameroon and went to France, the dream for him was to become a boxer. And he was training at a boxing gym. It was just that someone at the gym said to him, you could be a good MMA fighter. You should try out this MMA thing. He didn't even know what MMA was. So that's always been the itch that he hasn't been able to address, and now he's a free man. He's able to address it, and he's aiming for the moon. He's aiming for Tyson Fury or AJ, and just so happens that Eddie Hearn knows AJ pretty damn well, and he can make that fight happen. So it's very smart that Francis is talking to the likes of Eddie Hearn. I know he's also talking to other people, and he should talk to other people. But I would be, at this point, unless an MMA promotion comes with a massive deal, I would be shocked if the next time we see Francis Ngannou compete, it's not in boxing. Now, the question is, who's it with, under what umbrella, against all those things, we don't know. Way too soon for any of that. But it's very clear to me that one of his main motivations for leaving the UFC was to finally realize this dream. And what better time that you're still the UFC heavyweight champion. You can still be billed as such, right? He's still the lineal champ. And now you could do a potential fight against either an AJ, a Tyson Fury, a Deontay Wilder, a name like that. It would be a mega fight.
So on that note then, how do you believe he fares in the professional boxing ring? Because a lot of my friends who are big UFC guys seem to believe that he'll walk in and cement himself top 10 in the division. Now,
Off the bat.
Yes. So I've obviously said I can't say I totally agree, and I don't really know where his level's at because I don't watch enough MMA, but I knew that he was a boxer. That was his art. If he steps into the boxing ring, how good do you think he will be against professionals?
I think he can have a strong career. It depends on who he goes after first. Like if you're going after Tyson Fury, like no one beats Tyson Fury. If you're going after AJ, very select beat AJ, right? If you're going after Deontay Wilder, if you're not Tyson Fury, you're not beating Deontay Wilder. So like we have to put that in perspective as well. Could he beat, a Derek Chisora? Could he beat a Dillian White? I think so. The question is, first of all, how's his health? He's coming off a pretty serious knee injury, right? So he's not exactly 25. He's mid-30s. So those things tend to add up. He's been relatively injury-free up until this point. He doesn't take a lot of damage in his fight, so I don't think he's punchy or anything like that. That's good. The other thing is in MMA, it's less about combinations and volume and things of that nature. It's like one-hitter quitters, right? And in boxing, as you know, combinations, volume, pressure, all that stuff. So it's a totally different sport. With his last fight against Ciryl Gane, he was defending takedowns. He had to deal with that against Stipe Miocic. He doesn't have to deal with any of that. So that's why I don't like when people compare boxers to MMA fighters, or even MMA boxers to boxers, because it's totally different with the stance, with what you have to worry about, with the knees, with the takedowns, with the kicks. It's a completely different sport. There's just so much more that you have to worry about. And so, yeah, I'm very curious. Who does he train with? How does he change his style? Also, another thing, like he told me, he trains out of a good gym called Extreme Couture in Las Vegas. And, that's an MMA gym. Yeah. And one thing that Conor McGregor did when he went, and challenged Floyd Mayweather was he stayed with his team. And that's because he's a very loyal guy. And yes, he brought in this person and that person. But Francis said, I'm going to find a boxing coach, right? A trainer, someone to guide me. Now, he may still train with Extreme Couture, but he is really wanting to make this into more than just a one-off, a career. So there's a lot of questions. Should he be the betting favorite against Tyson Fury or Deontay Wilder? No, of course not. But man, I give him a lot of props because he has a lot to lose, right? He jumps in there and gets smoked by one of these guys. Like his leverage, his power goes all the way down. But man, the build-up would be fantastic.
Oh, incredible. And even the minute I saw the prospect of him coming over as someone who is a real MMA casual, the thought of him coming over to boxing, just to sell a pay-per-view with Francis Ngannou in it, just the way everything would be branded, it would be special.
Boxing champ, all that. And plus, he's a specimen. Like, the guy is a freaking tank. Great backstory. The unknown. Yes, we saw Conor and Floyd. We saw James Toney in the UFC. We saw Ray Mercer fight Tim Sylvia. But we haven't seen a lot of this, and we definitely haven't seen a UFC champion leave the UFC to do this. And we haven't seen baddest man on the planet versus baddest man on the planet. So it would be fun. Does it end up being a one-off? Yeah, maybe. And then he goes and fights for an MMA promotion and makes money there. But he's so close to realizing this dream, it would almost be a shame at this point to not.
Do you think, you've just said it there, it could just be a one-off, do you think he will remain in MMA at some point in his career?
I mean, look, if he goes out there and smokes Tyson Fury, why would he? If he smokes AJ, if he smokes Deontay, sky is the freaking limit for this guy. I would like to still see him fight in MMA. It would be nice one more time. I know a Bellator or a PFL would love to see him fight there, but I think it really depends on how that first fight goes. If it doesn't go well, then yeah. If it does go well, then it might be bye-bye MMA.
Something also I was going to say is obviously we know the level of the competition in the UFC is the elite, and I know that there are good fighters in Bellator and PFL and other divisions, etc. If he does go and sign to a PFL or a Bellator, is there a chance that it could just become a bit one-sided in all of his fights?
No, because they have good heavyweight divisions. Yeah, I mean, it's not UFC, but they have people who can hang. They're just not household names. Okay. The other thing is, again, coming off the knee injury, age, things of that nature. Again, in the heavyweight division, it's just one punch. Unlike boxing, one of the things that I like about MMA is even if he loses, it's not like in boxing, I feel like sometimes there's too much focus on that zero who cares? Some of the best MMA fighters of all time have double-digit losses. Nate Diaz. I love it. Yeah. Who cares? As long as they produce, they deliver, they're fun, no one really cares. Maybe in the moment we say, oh, he took a step back, but no one really cares. So there's maybe a little less pressure on their shoulders in that regard. But no, look, I think if you compare him to the Bellator heavyweight division or the PFL, yeah, you would say maybe he's the best, but a couple years down the line, all that changes.
That is good to hear because I didn't really know how stacked these other sort of outlets were.
It's not the UFC, but there's still some good people, yeah.
I'm curious to your take on this whole Conor Benn situation at the minute. Obviously, we've got the 2 failed tests, and I believe they're a month or so apart. We haven't had any ruling yet. As far as we know, the WBC are going to clear him to fight and put him back in the rankings. Still a bit of an issue with the British Boxing Board of Control. On your side, the information that you've heard, like I say, we're all still really a little bit in the dark about it, legal confidentialities, etc. What are your thoughts on the whole thing?
Well, it feels like, based on what I'm seeing and reading and hearing, right now there could be an announcement. Probably not right now because it's pretty late over there in the UK, but imminent. Yeah, it's imminent. And I'm very curious to see what happens. I mean, The fight was supposed to happen in October. It's now January. Does he get some kind of suspension? Does he have to sit on the sidelines? I mean, obviously he lost out on a lot of money from that fight alone. But honestly, I would be shocked if we don't see him fight this year. I think we see him fight again, and it sounds, according to Eddie, like he's still very interested in making the Eubank fight, even though Eubank is still, he's coming off a loss not that long ago. Feels like the luster has kind of gone away a little bit. And I think it's going to be hard to, there's probably a lot of people who are like, I don't want to buy tickets for this fight until I see them, fight week staring off against each other. So it might be some tough promoting to get to that point. But, the two tests are hard to deny. You signed up for VADA. This is why you signed up for VADA. So it's hard to look past all of that. It was a tough week for Eddie and the whole squad for DAZN, for Matchroom, with all of that happening. And, Eddie says, look, it was ultimately up to them, and I get it. And it sounded like at some point they were trying to go around the British. Whatever. It's a weird game. But ultimately, I think he comes back, and I think we see him fight again this year.
Can you understand why the boxing public feel a little bit hurt, I suppose, about the whole situation? And I'm not saying that's anyone's fault as such, but because it's dragged on for so long and no one has any clarity, even us in the sport don't really know. And also, do you feel like Conor's going to have to play a little bit of a villain role now? Because there are a lot of critics over in the UK now of Conor Benn who believe he shouldn't be able to fight.
Right. I actually feel like the public has been a little impatient because, I compare it to people who have tested positive in America, whether it's with the Nevada State Athletic Commission in California. You don't find out right away their fate, right? It's often months later, if not a year later, that you find out their fate. And some people have been suspended for over a year. So, I mean, what are we talking about? We're talking about a fight that was supposed to happen in early October. It's right now the first week of February. So it's not if we are truly finding out imminently, we had to wait, 3.5 months, something like that. So I don't know. Now, him being a villain, a heel, whatever you want to call him, people look a certain way towards PED users, cheaters, whatever you want to call them. And so does he want to play that up? I mean, I guess it ultimately depends on him, how comfortable he feels with that. But the dynamic will be very interesting if he is matched up against Eubank. Not only because of their history and their family history, but Eubank's coming off a loss. He's coming off this situation. It seemed like for a moment there, Eubank wanted to take the fight despite all of that. And then obviously there's hard feelings because the fight didn't come to fruition and a lot of money was lost. So I'm curious to see what type of approach he takes. He's always kind of been somewhat of a bad boy, right? I mean, he plays the part very well. So you might as well go all in. It's different, though, to be the bad boy, in terms of stature and look, and then be the bad boy. Yeah, and also you're a PED user. It's the worst thing that you can be known as in fight sports, right? In particular, obviously being a criminal is bad, but this is pretty damn bad. Yeah. So I'm very curious to see how he handles it and how he comes back and how he looks. And again, like I said, I think we see him back this year.
Ariel, I'm sure you've been asked a lot before, but obviously for Boxing Social it's fresh. We've seen this slap league all over social media. I've got a question that someone's asked me to ask you, but just first your thoughts on it all, because it just seems like CTE and brain damage waiting to happen.
I think it's total trash. I think it's garbage, and this has nothing to do with my feelings towards the UFC or anything like that, although I find it very disappointing that they would go all in and use their platform to promote, support, develop something like this. Honestly, the ones who have skirted by, in my opinion, are the Nevada State Athletic Commission. How could an athletic commission sanction something like this? We are supposed to believe that you care about the health and safety of the athletes, and you guys are supposed to be above the dollars and cents. You guys are supposed to be the government, and you're telling me that you have an issue with bare knuckle fighting. You cannot do bare knuckle fighting in Nevada, but you could do slap league. Really?
350-pound men putting their whole body weight into
no defense.
Yeah, it's mad.
With what we know about brain trauma, CTE, all these things and more, it's disgusting. I have no interest in it. It's not a sport. It's just a car crash. You know what it is? It's a bunch of older guys, seeing, a TikTok or an Instagram reel of a slap league and be like, that's it. That's cool. That's what the kids like these days. No one likes that. It's worth nothing more than a 10-second clip. That's it. It's human car crash, and it's nonsense. And I don't think it will last. I don't care what the ratings did last week. I don't think it'll last. I think it's bizarre. I mean, we don't even need to get into the whole thing of that. Like, it gets promoted after Dana's seen on camera doing, that to his wife. It's like the whole thing is just very, very weird. It feels like we're living in some sort of like alternate universe, but not my thing.
Also, I mean, how on earth do you become like a professional slap fighter? Like, what? I mean, we look at boxing and like decorated amateurs and Olympians. It's like, how do you become decorated? I'm genuinely puzzled by the whole thing.
You don't. There's a reason why like these aren't high level athletes, and I feel bad for them, and they're not getting paid that much. Yeah, they're not getting paid that much. It's not good for anyone, and they're going to deal with the repercussions for a very long time. So, like I said, it's just like a stunt. It's like human car, and they're trying to use the same formula that they use to build the UFC. But the UFC and MMA, that's a sport with great athletes, with collegiate athletes, with Olympians, with Division I athletes, with athletes that are coming from all over the world who are at the creme de la creme, incredible. This is not that. Yeah. It's nonsense.
Yeah. Just on that then, your opinion on someone said former UFC champs, but I suppose former UFC fighters in general promoting this slap league.
I don't envy them. A lot of them are working for the UFC, paid by the UFC, and like, the UFC Dana's hitting them up like, yo, can you? So like, they're just trying to be good soldiers. Who's to say I wouldn't do the same thing if I were in their position? Like, if this is where I'm making money and earning a living, and he asks you to do that, like, what are you going to tell him, to go F off? It's easy for us to say that, but, tough spot for them. I can assure you, there's one fighter that I've talked to that actually likes it. It's Anthony Smith. He says he likes it, and actually told me that he buys the pay-per-views, like, that aren't even the slap league ones, like the regional promotions. Yes, that's how big of a fan he is. And I'm like, you are an absolute sicko. So I guess there's a market for this somewhere, but not my thing.
I think he might have to be the exception to the rule. We'll let him have that one. Just finally from me, Ariel, darts.
Yes.
First things first, that terrific 9-darter. I've always loved the darts. I'm a bit of a casual. I watch the Worlds and then switch off a bit for the rest of the year. But what a sport, and the way the fans come out is incredible.
Ali Pali. I need to make the pilgrimage to the Ali Pali. Incredible. Michael Smith, one of my favorite athletes on the planet right now. Bully Boy, of course. Wayne Mardell. I can't speak. Just amazing. And honestly, like, everyone involved, they owe those broadcasters a debt of gratitude, because they made the moment into what it is today. Like, people are mocking them now, or imitating them, I should say. There's no real mocking. It's just amazing what they were able to do. Like, the enthusiasm, the energy, the excitement was brilliant. And I'll be honest, I was watching it live, and I didn't understand what was going on. A good friend of mine, Pete Carroll, told me, you got to watch the darts. Ali Pali, it's amazing. And so I started watching it. I actually tweeted, how do I watch the darts? I didn't know. I think it was Barry Hearn that tweeted me. I wonder if it was the actual Barry Hearn. Who knows?
I actually think it is.
You think it? All right, good. He tells me it's on DAZN. I fire up the DAZN. I'm a subscriber. And there I am watching, and I see them going, head to head. And I'm freaking out because they're excited, and I don't even understand the rules. Now I understand 501, all that stuff, and I love it. We have a darts board here. I got one in my house. I got a magnetic one because I have little kids, so I don't want them shooting those things. 8-year-old shooting in his brother's eye. So we got a magnetic one, great. And now we're doing a new thing just for fun. If you come visit us in studio, you got to go 3-on-3 versus me. Now we had Sky Nicholson in studio on Monday.
I'm better than Eddie, right?
I mean, I think she hustled me. She got a 93. That's incredible.
That is really
for someone who says that never did it in her life. Yeah. I got a 31, bounced back in a big way. I smoked Eddie. Eddie got like a 21.
I was really shocked by that, because he threw the first start and was like, oh yeah, practice.
Yeah,
and then like they were looping at the one. And
it was a little whack. Now, I will say a bit of a home field advantage here. Like, the lights are low. He's a tall guy. What is he, 6'3", 6'4"?
Yeah,
so he had to bend down a little bit. You got a light in your face. Look, the elements aren't great, but, little old Sky went out there and freaking nailed it. Now, I think this is a better setup for someone who's shorter. So maybe worked in
Might be my forte.
Yeah, exactly. But Very fun. I love it, and it's not a big deal here in America, and I think it can be a big deal. He tells me that the ratings, the viewership, the numbers, all that stuff, gigantic in the UK, and I can understand why. Before I die, I got to go to the Ali Pali. I need to experience that. It seems like an incredible scene.
I actually have never been to Ali Pali myself, so
how
I
far do you
cannot
live from
wait to go. Not far. It's in London, and I could have actually got
excuse.
tickets. I did go to Frank, but next year it's happening. I'm going to the Worlds. Work got in the way a little bit as well, but next year the Worlds is happening.
You got to go. Maybe I'll see you there.
Maybe we'll go together, Ariel.
Maybe. Let's
Just
not get
invited
crazy.
myself
Yeah,
now
it's
to
a
be.
little
I'm
bit,
just trying to be a fan. Yeah.
Yeah. But I love it.
Yeah.
I absolutely love it.
Do you get it when you? Okay, right. When you were watching the Nine Darter, did you understand that how
I didn't
unbelievable?
even understand what the hell they were doing. I didn't understand like the numbers, why they were going down. I didn't know what a nine darter. I was so uninformed that I didn't understand why the camera was zoomed in. You know what I mean? On that part of the thing, I was like, how do they know where they're going? Yes. I was like, oh, of course they have to go for that. So now I understand everything. And I then watched like the following week was the Bahrain one, and then there was the Nordic Master. Yes.
My man is hardcore darts.
I was watching it. The Nordic one. Then I learned. I was asking about the commentators. Laura Woods used to be a presenter. I learned that as well. What a legend she is. I'm a huge fan of hers. So people told me like she kind of started with the darts, I think it was. So it's a whole culture that I know nothing about, but I'm very interested in. And now Eddie's saying he wants me to be the face. The problem is he wants me to be the face of North America. Here's the thing. If I truly get my hands on this, I'm going to take him over. I'm going to be the face of worldwide darts, and I don't know if he's quite ready for that.
He may not be. Ariel, finally from me, I had this question. I don't understand it myself because I don't smoke cigars, but judging by the guy's comment, I imagine you smoke cigars?
I do not.
Okay, well, this is going to be the most irrelevant question
Okay.
I'm ever going to ask you then.
a feeling I know what he's going to say.
Cohiba or Monte Cristos?
Oh, fuck. I thought he was going to make a joke about Joe Burrow, who's a football player, NFL player who smokes cigars. Cuban. How about Cuban?
I don't know.
Someone
I was baffled.
asked me that of all the questions?
I know. I thought that. I just thought I'd throw it in at the end as like a.
Because you thought maybe I was known as a smoker?
Well, I did search it up and I didn't see anything, but I thought I might just throw it in there and ask him anyway.
Cuban? That's my answer.
All right, I'm going with that answer too. Ariel Helwani, thank you very much for your time.
Pleasure.
On a personal note, I appreciate how you've taken me in today. It really is a privilege to be here. Thank you very much, and I look forward to hopefully doing this again down the line.
Absolutely. I'm a fan of Boxing Social, but I'm a fan of yours even more so. Love the interviews, love what you're doing. 19 years of age. Most kids are, doing not so great things at 19 years. And please listen to that advice that Eddie gave you. And if you mess it up, you're letting us all down, all right? Because we need young, hungry, hardworking journalists in the fight game, and you're that guy. You've got a great opportunity. You're well on your way. You've got a massive head start, and the head start is not because someone gave you the head start, it's because you created the head start. And so you deserve a ton of credit for that, and I respect you tremendously for that, but now keep it going because the job's not done.
Some man for one man. Ariel Helwani, thank you very much for joining us at Boxing Social.